This is Charlie Mike, the podcast. Veterans helping veterans, talking about things happening in the veteran community, things we've experienced and overcome, such as addictions, PTSD, depression, legal trouble. And we also promote veteran-owned businesses. If you're talking about it, we're talking about it. This is Charlie Mike, the podcast.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Charlie Mike, the podcast. As always, I'm your host, Raul, and your co-host, William.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. It's so nice to have Raul back. If you were paying attention the last couple of weeks, Raul took some time off to, take care of himself. But here at Charlie Mike, the show must go on. We continue mission, and it's been weird without you, man. Welcome back.
Man, I appreciate you keeping everything going. I know my family and I were dealing with some issues. We lost my son.
Right.
And, the amount of support that I received from everyone has been incredible. The amount of love, text messages, emails, even from, we had a GoFundMe. If I didn't call you personally, I saw your name on there. This goes out to everybody, my old Army buddies that I was privates with, to everyone. I saw you, and thank you. Don't think that they didn't go unnoticed. And I appreciate all the love and the prayers that everyone keeps giving myself and my family, and will never be forgotten.
Yeah, that's right. I laugh and smile because it's fulfilling to feel that much love and to be a part of it and be around it and see that, and to witness what love is, especially between a father and a child. I've got 4 kids myself, and it's nice to see the community kind of really rally around, and you don't know the amount of lives that you affect, right? Until somebody actually says, hey, you've impacted me. And then when you're on your darkest spot, to be able to have folks just kind of say, hey, I've got your back.
Yeah, it was definitely, it still is the amount of love that we received, the entire family. We were all beyond grateful and at a loss for words. It's, I tried to call everybody that I noticed that I saw personally and tell them like, hey, I saw you. Thank you for everything, but I didn't get the chance to do that. And I still haven't, but if, thank you for your prayers and your wishes. It doesn't go unnoticed, and it's felt.
That's right. That's right. So thank you out there. Really, we really appreciate your support, continuing to support Raul. And he did really feel that this is larger. This is a big mission. It's more than just one person, even though your presence was missed, truly. But I didn't get no hate mail, so that's a good thing, right?
I got it. Don't worry about it.
You got it? You'll share it later.
No. Hey, we got Tree's a special guy. He just made a comment right now. He said, for once, Tim is the tallest one in there.
Yes. And if you're not joining us live and you're watching us through audio, you will notice that we do have another guest in here. So, Ro, you want to go ahead and make the introduction?
Guy, I've known Tim for quite a few years, and I've followed him. We actually met at a networking event here in Pearland.
Okay.
I think that's how we originally met. And I think it was one of Ricky's Fajita Fridays.
Yeah, it was at the old location.
Yeah.
And I had some of my my buddies as well. I had an insurance company at the time through Stroud Marketing Group. And a couple of the ladies said, well, how do we get started? And I said, you're going about it, sales the wrong way. You're pushing.
Love it.
Listen, pull. Ask questions, listen, and listen with your ears, listen with your heart, and see what you can bring to the table. And they said, what do you mean? I said, I'm going to take you to an event, and you're going to be blown away. And we turned the corner, and it was right down the street. And I used to live right north of here. It was weird because it's closer to Pearland, but it was still city of Houston. If you called the police, and I did a couple times, it would be Pearland would get the 911 operator would get the call, but they would not answer it because it was still city of Houston and Harris County. And so if the constable didn't pick it up, then we had to work something out. But yes, we went to the Fajita Friday, And they were just blown away by the outpouring of love and affection, because when you showed up for Fajita Friday, it wasn't like, hey, pull up with me, change your oil and check the tires. And
Yeah.
no, it was like, hey, we want you to come out and network and be part of the community. And I love that. And before we start getting into all of this, man, I want to let you know that it was playing on my heart, and I prayed for you and your family.
I appreciate it.
And it just reminded me a lot of my grandma. She had 6 kids, and she buried 5 of them, including my mother, before she passed.
Oh, wow.
And when we're born, we always seek for the circle of life, right?
Mm.
And we're just waiting for our part of the circle to where life starts taking more things than it gives us. But life doesn't always follow that path. And I asked her, because there was a point in time where she stopped going to the funerals, including my mother's funeral. She would not attend. And I said, Grammy, let's find something you're grateful for. She's like, Timothy? Well, I knew I was either in trouble or she's about to say something really profound. She said, Timothy, she's like, I'm grateful for my entire life, the lows and the highs. She's like, God gave me this. I will be grateful for every moment that I'm here, but sometimes it hurts. She said, just remember that there's other people out there that will need your love and energy. And that's partially where I get it. I'm usually the most positive and energetic person in the room.
Yeah, by a
And
long shot. Yeah. Yeah.
So that other voice you hear is Mr. Tim Stroud. He's a former combat medic from the U.S. Army. And when I first got introduced to you, it was just the name to know and be a part of the circle, really. I know you do a lot in the veteran community, and when I was telling folks that we were getting ready to have you on, it's like, okay, well, who is that? I'm like, you don't know who Mr. Tim Stroud is? You know, he gets everywhere. And I said, oh, you know what? Do you know Mr. Colton? And they're like, oh, yes, we know who Colton is.
Oh, yeah, thank you, and I appreciate that. I'm just one small cog in the big machine that's out there. But we were, my family and I were just in Italy. It's been part of our journey that we wanted to go and trace our roots through genealogy back to Italy. And
that was recent, right?
yeah, we got back yesterday.
Oh, my
wow.
God, that's right.
I mean, really recent. I mean, we were in Rome yesterday, and Rome, and then via Chicago, came back through O'Hare. And the joke is like, we're going to run into somebody that we know over there. Well, I didn't run into somebody that I know, but I ran into 2 different people that we served, one in Baumholder together. We just didn't know each other. And the other one was Fort Hood, because that military is a great exponential factor that you guys will agree. And the funny thing about it, my daughter's like, watch when we go to the Vatican, somebody's going to see my dad up there, and they're going to be like, hey, who's that guy with my dad in the white hat? It's like, no, I'm not that famous, but that is funny.
That's too funny. Yeah.
That's awesome to hear, because I want to go to Rome, right? That's on everybody's bucket list.
Right.
And to be able to trace your genealogy back, what did you discover about yourself out there?
Good question. Nicely done.
Yeah, thank you.
He's got him in there.
All right. So what I've done I just clicked in my, since we're at Cruising Cars, I clicked in my odometer 50 miles. So I'm on the right side of 50 now, which is great for me. And through my journey, I'm looking for my second curve. My first curve was, how can I be more of a medic, which means in my world, how can I do the most good for the most people? And now that curve is that, but also that means mentoring those veterans, family members, and others to that level of success, so that will live on. And so when we were out there, we just explored, because we wanted the genealogy piece, but we also wanted to bring it inward to see what we could learn about ourselves. And with my eldest daughter there and her boyfriend and my girlfriend there, we just had such an amazing time, just an exploration. And one of the funny things about it with my daughter, she knows, even though my mom's maiden last name is Murphy, it wasn't always Murphy. It was Anzavino, because my great grandfather traveled from Italy to New York with his brother, and one was in the family business, and the other one went into construction. And at a time where nobody was hiring either Italians or Irish, my great-grandfather changed his last name from Anzavino to Murphy, unbeknown to the Social Security office. So he just whipped it out, little pencil whip there, and changed it to Murphy. And so when that happens, that usually means he was running from something.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, and I'm far enough removed from that now, over 100 years ago. I want to find out what he was running from. I don't want to dig too much,
Yeah.
but I want to find out. And man, I tell you what, we had Dina and I had such a great time because we're looking at how we're different than the culture over in Italy, especially
Right.
Rome, and then how we're the same. And it was absolutely an amazing journey because we stayed in the city for the majority of the time, and then we went to Pompeii and we discovered the ruins out there. And we went to another small town that's on the hill and it has these gorgeous waterfalls, and just exploring nature, just turning off everything and
Mhm.
being in the moment was absolutely wonderful.
Man, that's what you got to do.
Oh man.
That's what you got to do.
Yeah.
The best way to enjoy vacation and to
Well,
learn
just
about
life,
your-
right?
yeah.
Exactly. So, what's on your bucket list, and when are you going?
Man, I got a lot on my bucket list now that I'm at a peak of my sobriety.
Okay.
There's a lot that I want to do that I probably have done in the past that I want to redo to
Re-experience.
remember.
How far are you along on your sobriety?
About 3 years, and a couple of
Congratulations.
months.
Yeah.
Yes. So, there's a lot I want to redo.
Yeah. You know what? That's a great thing about it in life. You can redo.
Yeah.
Hit the redo
Yeah.
button and just explore something again. It's kind of like watching an old movie, something that you saw in the 80s or 90s. You're like, man, I'll watch that again. Sometimes it's phenomenal, and sometimes it's a little lackluster.
Yeah.
But now you get to experience that, internalize it, and then move forward.
Yeah. This is simple things too. Like I want to experience Vegas, but sober.
Okay.
I
Mhm.
want to go to New York and see the memorial, the Twin Towers Memorial. I want to go to Hawaii and see Pearl Harbor.
Okay.
A lot of it has to do with
Yeah.
a lot of history.
Okay.
I think that's probably the military in us that we want to experience those type of things. But there's a lot, and there's things I want to do. Well, I want to do the ancestry thing
Okay.
also, but yeah, I kind of feel like somebody said, let's go to Hawaii.
You know what? And here's the thing about every veteran that I talk to, and they say, I would like to do this, this, this. And then they see me traveling. They usually say a 3-word sentence that my mentor, Paul J. Meyer, used to get all the time. Must be nice.
Right.
And I'm like, stop right there.
Yeah.
And it's no time. If you're going to throw a party, throw a real party, not a pity party. Let's figure out how to go. My sister has never been back to Germany, and she was born there. She was born in the same city as Bruce Willis. I think the same hospital, but it's been closed since then. And she was a smoker. And I said, Heather, would you like to go to Germany? And she said, absolutely. Thinking that I was going to take her because I took her daughter, because a promise made is a promise kept.
Yeah.
I took my eldest niece when she graduated with honors. I said, you graduate with honors, you get signed up for college. We're going to Germany. So I took her to Germany and to France, and we had an absolute blast. And Heather said, I would like to go. I said, great. Are you still smoking? And she's like, yeah. I was like, well, how much are you smoking? She's like, I'm down to a pack a day. She was 2-pack-a-day smoker.
Wow.
Exactly. I mean,
That's a lot of time too.
life was real, right? It's like, hey, how you doing? This is it. This is Heather. And that was her voice.
Yeah.
No, I was kidding. She's beautiful and she's awesome, but smoking took its toll on her, just like drinking does. You can stop drinking and your liver will back up and it will become healthy. Same thing with your lungs. As soon as you stop, you're going to go through that withdrawal period, but then your lungs are just going to fill up and you're going to have expanded, and you're right, excel. And I said, Heather, stop smoking today. How much are cigarettes? She's like $7 a pack. I was horrible at math when I was a kid, but I learned to love it now. Be great at something that was a challenge to you. I said, that's $2,555. You think you can travel to Germany on that? She's like, yeah, I may be able to take my husband. I said, yeah, you sure can. Let me plan that out for you. So we're in that stage now of making sure that she can take that journey. If somebody wants to go, that's my role in life, not to pay for it, but to help them find that spot on their
I
journey.
like that.
Yeah.
Like to connect the dots.
Yeah.
So how long were you planning this trip?
Oh my goodness. And believe it or not, this was on the books for 5 years even before I met my girlfriend, but
That's
she
so
stepped up.
satisfying.
I know.
to hear.
She stepped up to the plate and she's like, let's go do this, because COVID killed a lot of dreams. Would
Right.
you agree?
Yeah.
And now we want to go out and we want to make sure that we live our best life, but not in an ostentatious way. Something that is, where somebody's like, oh, yeah, they're just over there spending money. No, we are very, very frugal. Even though we spend money on good things, we did not come back with suitcases full of new clothes and souvenirs. We came back with pictures, videos, and memories.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's good. That's awesome.
Yeah. It's satisfying because for the last 2 years now, I've been saying the same thing. I said my number one goal is to get to Disney World, and we got our tickets, and we're going in October, actually, in a couple of weeks. So
Okay.
we're within 40 days, and I've talked about it at nauseum over and over again. I can't go there because I'm going to Disney World. And I tell my kids that, hey, we can't go out to eat, or we can't do this activity, or we could, but what do you want to do best? Do you want to go to Disney World? Do you want to plan for that? Or are you willing to stay home a couple more times and do that? And that's exactly what I hear you echoing is if you have a goal, which is perfect, you want to have a new mission. If you have a goal, make some sacrifices to get there because it's that much more rewarding.
Absolutely. And that is so important right now with the younger generation, because we are acknowledging that we have gotten off that path. We know in the military, if you stay on true north and you shoot your azimuth and you're good to go, if you get off 5 degrees, you can course correct there. If you're going just a couple miles, well, if you're going 20 miles and you're 5 degrees off, you're in a different town. You've totally missed your mark.
Right.
So showing them how to course correct right now and making sure that they're doing those things is amazing. And I've done the same thing with my daughters, and not just with their money, but with their time. Their money they can invest. My daughters live on half their income.
That's awesome.
I wish somebody would have shown me that when I was growing up, because when I got to college and I was working for my cousin, he had a car dealership at Ford. Man, my first week in the car business, I made $3,200. This is in the 90s.
Wow.
Not bad for a week's worth of work, right? And as soon as I got it, it's gone. I mean, it's back in the days when you could buy CDs and DVDs. I bought a 100-disc CD player. And I was the man, wicked, just mixing it up, right? But I did not save and invest for the future. Oh, you got it right there. And I quickly learned my lesson. I need to change my ways. Otherwise, I'm going to be, there's one thing about being dumb and broke. There's another thing about being smart and broke. I did not have any assets. I skipped that very vital piece in the middle. And that's why, like you, I love teaching the financial classes and the gold classes, because if you teach somebody to work their asses off, and you absolutely, doesn't matter if it's 1 job, 2 jobs, 3 jobs, you save and invest, and then you buy something, an asset that produces revenue, some sort of income, doesn't matter if it's property and intellectual, something that you have that's going to produce a dividend, then you can purchase the thing. But if you buy the thing in the middle step, you'll never get to this point over here.
Mhm.
Yeah.
No, that's a common thing, really, and you see it a lot on TikTok, on those socials. Folks talking about it,
Mhm.
but it's harder to apply it.
It is. Man, you could think about TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and everything online right now. 20 years ago, that stuff did not exist.
Yeah.
Imagine what's going to exist in the next 20 years. I remember when MySpace came out. So when I came, did you serve overseas?
I did.
Where
yes.
were you at?
Oh, I did time in Iraq.
I did time.
I
You know
did my
what?
time.
I have to think about it. And where were you
Yeah.
at, Will?
I was in Iraq both times.
Okay, so my first duty station was Germany, and when you're in Germany, I went from medic to CID, and so as
I could see that.
What years was this, dude? What years did
I
you
can't
say?
tell you.
No?
Can't tell you. It's
No?
good.
Okay.
And so it was during 9/11,
Oh, wow.
and so I got back from Kosovo, and I made a drug deal with my command sergeant major and colonel. They needed me for the boss program, better opportunities for single soldiers.
Mhm.
And I was married, newly married, but I knew how to get things. And so I started writing these celebrities. They started writing back. I'm talking about Hugh Hefner, astronauts, presidents, governors, and the singers, actors, and all those great people. They wanted to support the military. They may not have supported the war, but they wanted to support the men and women that were there.
Yeah.
And so I got all this stuff, and they said, well, what do you want? And do I have time for a quick funny story on that?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Oh my goodness. So this is one of my favorite stories. So I'm working at Camp Monteith and Camp Bonsteel, and I'm bouncing in between from red base to blue base. Sergeant First Class Rick. Oh my goodness, forgot his last name, but great guy. He and I would go because the first sergeants, even though we had some very talented female medics, they didn't want the female medics at red base or blue base making little soldiers, right? Even because let's just face it, there's an additional hurdle to go through or get around when you've got women there as well. So I went and yes, leave it right there.
Go ahead.
And so when I started writing to all the celebrities, they started leaving their autographed pictures, and we put them on the wall. So imagine it here. You fill up that wall, then that one, it just went around. It was amazing. I mean, Dolly Parton and all the news crews and everybody, it was absolutely wonderful. And when all those things started coming in, the colonel said, "Come here, Stroud." And I was like, "Ma'am, what's going on?" She's like, "Well, you're a command sergeant major, and I want to have a conversation with you." She said, "I was like, okay." She said, "Legally, I cannot make or open your mail, but I can make you open it up in front of me." She's like, "You anything you want to tell me?" And she's like, "I gotta know. Are you dealing drugs? Are you just gonna leave that stuff, or what are you guys gonna do?" So we got some guests in here. So
absolutely.
We got Bob Gephardt and Diane, and Colton's gonna go over there and say hi to them. There we go, Colton. Just go ahead and knock some stuff around, baby Huey. Thank you, bro.
No worries.
So you have so we're right in between. You're getting called into your command sergeant major's office, right?
Yeah. So the colonel and the command sergeant major called me on the carpet. And they said, "All right, Stroud, you got to open all this stuff in front of us." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And she's like, "Here's your amnesty point." She's like, "Are you a drug dealer?" I looked her square in the eye and I was like, "Ma'am, yes, ma'am, I am." And the blood just drained out of her face. And the command sergeant major looked at me. I said, "Per everything that I've been entrusted by the United States Army as a 91 whiskey before it went to 68 whiskey, I said, I do deal the drugs that my PA and my physicians give me." And she's like, "That's not what I mean." She's like, "Are you dealing drugs?" I said, "Outside of what you guys give me to parlay to the soldiers, no, ma'am." She's like, "What's in the damn box?" I go, "You're not going to like it." And she's like, "What?" And I had been writing back and forth, and I found out that Dave Thomas, the founder of Wendy's, who was an orphan, he served at Fort Hood when it was Camp Hood. And then also someone else was very famous that served at Fort Hood besides Elvis Presley. And it's the guy who sent me these 2 cases of items. Of course, you're a guy, you're deployed, and you want to look at stuff, right? It's 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's 25 years ago now. And I was like, all right. So I whipped out my Gerber, opened a box, and I said, "Here you go, ma'am. You want one of these?" And on top was a letter from Hugh Hefner. And because he served at Fort Hood, we had the same birthday, April 9th. And he would write me letters, and he sent us cases of autographed Playboys.
Wow.
Oh my goodness. Her face turned beet red. And Command Sergeant Major, he's like, "Give me one of those." He's like, "Whatever you want." And I was like, "I want to do CID." I said, "I want to go through the 6-month training program." He's like, "Tap the brakes." He's like, "Finish out your deployment here. Make sure everything's good." And I got about $180,000 worth of stuff donated from the States. We're talking golf equipment, golf bags, the custom fitted clubs, computers from back then, CDs, books, everything. Just amazing. I gave it all away. Unless they autographed it to me, I just gave it away because it wasn't mine to keep.
Right.
And so we played Jeopardy. We played, oh my goodness, you name a classic game show, a Family Feud. And we just set it up in the CP and worked with the USO and the Red Cross. They're like, "Where'd you get all this stuff?" And I was like, "I've got more, and I'm going to be out in the field. Can I send it to you?" And they say, "Well, yes, of course." And so we just had a blast, man. And it's had a great time, set all that stuff up. And then by the time I transitioned back for my eldest daughter being born, I transitioned over to CID.
Wow.
I had no idea that Hugh Hefner was at Fort Hood.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah. He sent me an autograph in uniform, and nobody knows who it was. And when I ran for Congress, I knew I had all these photos on the wall, and Jeff Picard from the Waves
Waves.
Project helped me hang. And gosh, this guy is brilliant. I mean, he can just. I've got 17 thumbs here, and then when I've tried to hang something, if I put 5 on the wall, 6 of them will be crooked. Again, I'm not good at math, right? And he helped me get everything leveled. And but when I would do podcasts or I would do interviews when I was running for Congress, I had to take Hugh down off the wall. He didn't fit my value system anymore, and that's part of my journey. Is that thanks so much? Is this vodka? Just kidding. I know it's water.
Yeah.
He's not part of my journey anymore. And I loved having that shared space with him, and I loved him as an entrepreneur and what he did, how he treated women. That was not a shared point in our lives, but I did value that he supported the military.
Yeah, a lot of things weren't known back then either. It's it's all different now. I mean,
Well, it is, and that's the thing about it. We have our vices, but at the same time, we have our coping mechanisms as well. And for me, it's not like I'm pious, and it's like, oh no, I would never touch that again. No, it's just at one point that was part of my journey, and I loved having that likability where I could share with others. It's like Elvis Presley, man, one of the best artists of several generations. I'm talking about as a singer, not as an actor, right?
Yeah.
And he did some nefarious things back in his day. I mean, he didn't exactly go out at 105 in the pinnacle of health. He checked out eating peanut butter and banana sandwiches, snorting stuff on the toilet, right?
Yeah, there's a lot I didn't know about him. I saw his movie.
Which one?
Oh, his last one.
The most recent one that
The
just
most
came out.
recent one.
The one.
Yeah. Okay, you're talking about the biography,
Right.
but it was based on. I need to see that one.
Yeah, but I think it was from like the colonel's perspective.
Okay.
Or it was more about him than it was a lot about Elvis too, but it was like, is it the third person where he's doing a lot of the talking?
Okay, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so it's like that.
On a scale of 1 to 10, what would you give it? 1 being the worst and 10 being the best.
Let's say about an 8.
That's pretty
Well,
solid.
after the movie, I'm not a fan of Tom Hanks anymore, just because he played that role
Oh,
so good.
they
wow.
paid the colonel,
Yeah,
yeah.
because he played that role so good. I was just like,
That means he's a damn good actor if he can pull it off, and you hate the guy afterward. It's like,
yeah, exactly.
So you just took us through this time where you're early on in the deployment, right? So after 9/11, I would assume when you're deployed, you're getting all these signatures. I think one of the big things for me that comes out of it, and as I try to tell veterans this all the time, is there is a veteran in large organizations or big businesses or in the government that are making huge decisions, and there's a path for you to get there too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right. Because you mentioned, Dave Thomas, Elvis Presley, Hugh Hefner, all as veterans, and then granted, you may not like their personal choices, but what they're doing and what they've learned because they were a veteran set them up for that next venture.
Right. And it's never too late to find your second curve. And you look at Colonel Sanders, 65 years of age when he hit pay dirt. I mean, he had just gone through trial after trial after trial, hurdle and hoops he had to jump through. And then he found out something he was great at was shaking and baking, baby.
Yeah.
He would take those spices and he was selling the chicken. He would go door to door and restaurant to restaurant. And finally says, you know what? I've got the right stuff, baby. He's like, let me show you. And somebody believed in him and then he moved forward. And I love that because you can look at different parts of your life and it's like, I failed. As long as you're failing forward, man, when you come out on the other side of it, you're going to look back and you're like, man, that was worth the journey. Kind of like boot camp, right?
Yeah.
Right.
They rip you all the way down, then they build you up, and you're like, I'll never go through the military again. And then when you get done, it's like, I'm a mean, lean fighting machine.
Yeah. I say that all the time a lot when it comes to discipline, right? Veterans have so much discipline. You just tend to not go back there. But at times when you're trying to recreate yourself, that's when you need the discipline the most. I put on some weight. We talk about this a lot. And I'm like, but getting my butt up in the morning and going back to the gym for 10 minutes a day led me to where I am now, which is, 30, 45 minutes. When was the last time you've really challenged yourself with I'm going to have to rely on just pure discipline to get me through this?
Well, I've looked at another great question. I look at a couple of the D's. There's direction and discipline. You can have discipline and you're just not going the right way because you think you're you're headed the proper way, that's because you're filled more with hubris than you are humility. Once you admit that you don't know everything and you seek outside yourself, then you can go back inside. You're like, all right, sometimes you need that drill sergeant to drive you through, or that jazzercise instructor or CrossFit instructor. And sometimes you just need that internal drill sergeant voice. Get up and get that done. And it's like, I was up at 3:00 today. I had to get back on my fitness level. And so when we were in Italy, every day was leg day, but nothing upper body. And so I was like, got to get the guns back in there and start going and get on that path. And so my challenge to me is also not having the drive and discipline, but just making sure my direction is on point, not just for me. It's if you look at the old movie and let's see if you can name the movie real quick, and then I'll go on with the analogy. We'll have some fun here today. So this is one of the little tasks I give to show you that facts tell, stories sell. So I'll give you all the facts, and then you tell me the movie. Fair enough? Because we were talking about movies, right?
Yeah.
So a young lady travels to a foreign land. She kills the first person she comes in contact with. Then she links up with 3 others. They conspire, and she kills again. Name the movie.
Oh man.
You're like, your money's safe with me.
No. Hey, when you started, I was like, well, what kind of movie is this we're talking about?
Exactly. You're like, oh, is it Kill Bill? What is it? It's like, no, it's The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
Oh,
She drops the house on the Wicked Witch, and then she steals her dang shoes. And then the other witch comes over. Are you a good witch? Or actually, the good witch asks her, are you a good witch or a bad witch? But the other witch takes off because she wants those ruby slippers, baby. She partnered up with the Tin Woodsman, the Scarecrow, and the Lion. And then when she threw the bucket of water on the other witch, she melted. So she killed again.
You see, you had me fooled though, because the way your body expression was, you said kill, and I was thinking,
exactly. I was to throw you off. But the whole analogy there was getting on your yellow brick road, and so on her journey, she picked somebody else up. Somebody guess it?
No, I'll read Tree's comment after we're finished.
So when they were on the yellow brick road, Dorothy didn't start with everybody in her posse. She didn't start with a great crew. She picked up one over here, one over here, one over here. You never know who you're going to find on your journey. If you've got the path, stay on the dang path and bring some good people with you, and you can overcome anything.
Yeah, I like that.
All right. There's a lot of stuff deep in there. Now, I've never been into drugs, but some of my buddies had partaken into some stuff and played the was it the Dark Side of the Moon CD?
Right, Pink Floyd.
Oh yeah, play that Pink Floyd along with it, and they said it matches up perfectly.
Huh. I haven't done it yet.
Wizard of Oz.
Are you serious?
I know, right? You have to Google that now.
Yeah, we're gonna have to watch it. We got a screen now. We'll put it up there.
Yeah, you know, I almost wore blue.
Oh man!
And so I'm glad you said that, because then I would have just kind of
blended.
Yeah,
I texted him when he got here. I was like, hey, you did text him. Make sure you didn't wear blue, because we've had a few guests that we forgot to tell, and then they just kind of look like a floating head.
I was gonna say, what do you do? You know what? That's when you come up with the Charlie Mike t-shirts. And it's like, oh, you're wearing blue. It's $25 for a t-shirt.
Hey, that's not bad. I like this man.
Let's start work. Tell him, make sure you wear blue. Oh, I meant not
to wear blue. Yeah.
That's So let's go back a little bit. I want to know. Okay, so what made you join the military?
Man. Okay. So
tell us a little bit about your upbringing. Where are you from originally? How you know?
Man, I totally want to pull a Steve Martin on this one in the jerk, because like, I was born. I can't even say it right now. So if you've seen the jerk, you know how he starts out on things. Like, I can't do that these days. But so I'm the only son of an only son of an only son. My dad, I know, right? And then I have 2 daughters. But my dad was second generation military, and then I came in third. My dad served as a military policeman in the Army. He was stationed in Germany. That's where my sister was born, in the same little city that Bruce Willis was born in. And then they came back to the States. He was stationed at Fort Riley, and that was me. He got sent over to Vietnam. I think he did 2 tours over there, 2 short tours, 6 months. And when he got back, he, like so many others, he went into law enforcement. sadly, 18 months into his service to the community, he was killed in the line of duty.
Oh, wow.
I was 5, and people were like, "Ugh, too bad you don't remember your dad." I'm like, "Are you kidding me? I remember so many vivid points of what happened." And my mom's like, "Are you sure you remember that?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then she'll bring out the old photo album book, and we'll look at everything. And she's like, "Oh yeah, that's what happened." And then my memory and the photo kind of
Right.
meld together, and I can't tell where it's there or not. I mean, on a human level, every 7 years, every cell in your body is
Mhm.
replaced. And so that means your memories are replaced as well. So you're remembering a memory of a memory. And somewhere, and most people, it gets distorted unless you have it on film. Is it live or is it Memorex?
Mhm.
And so what I have is just that mirage that lives for me. And I love that. And so I got to remember all the great things. Again, we talked about our peaks and our valleys and everything, right? So I remember my grandfather talking to my uncle, and he's like, and so my uncle came over, picked me up so I could look inside the casket and I could say goodbye to my dad one last time.
Wow.
And I still remember him in his uniform, on how regal, how handsome, and how stoic he was. And that wasn't my dad, because from all of the accounts, I'm very similar to my father. High on life, full of energy. I get to tell jokes and make people laugh and enjoy, be in the moment. I love that's how they describe them or him and me. But when I turned 23, mom got cancer. And so she had a hysterectomy, she had a mastectomy. She beat cancer, but she went to bed one night and she had a brain hemorrhage, never woke up. Man, that's a great story if she was 103.
Mm.
But at 43,
Oh, shit.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so that my life changed. I mean, my trajectory was already on that parabolic turn after my father, because we just took a different turn. But my life stopped when that happened to my mom. I still believed in God, but man, I was just so angry at God and everybody. I mean,
Mm.
it just got to be the point where that's where I sold everything. If it did not fit in my vehicle, I sold it or gave it away. And I moved from the little town I was in, Cape Girardeau, Missouri, home of Rush Limbaugh. Went up to St. Louis.
I like how he knows all these facts.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Style it in there.
Yeah.
So I worked in radio back in the day, and I actually met Rush Limbaugh through his grandfather. His grandfather was 103 and the oldest practicing attorney in the United States.
Wow.
So I had him mentor me a few times, got to meet Rush. His grandfather really didn't like Rush. He thought he was a failure because the rest of the family were bankers and attorneys.
Wow.
And so, but he did love him. And so I moved to St. Louis and I floundered. I floundered. Thankfully, I was failing forward, which was great. I finally found my path. And at age 27, on my 27th birthday, I took the entrance exam. And thankfully, I've always been an avid reader. And back then, without working so much, I was just a voracious reader. I was just
Mm.
devouring these books. And still today, I'll read 1 or 2 books a week. But back
Oh,
then,
really?
oh, I was reading 4 books a week.
Wow.
Just imagine all the things you were horrible about. You were taking classes in high school or college that you were horrible. You could not add, you could not punctuate or present, or there was no prose left in your performance. And I just started reading. And then the audiobooks. That was back in the days of the cassettes. So I'd have my Walkman. And
I was ahead of the
running.
curve.
Yeah, exactly right. And so I stumbled upon Zig Ziglar,
Oh, yeah.
Paul J. Meyer, Tony Robbins, and man, they just lit me up. You just like boom, and I was like, "There's more to life than just the little tiny pity party that I'm throwing. Let's turn it up a notch." And so when I was I was actually a poker dealer at a casino, so I could deal every
In
game.
St. Louis.
And so yeah, it was right outside St. Louis, it's St. Charles.
Uh-huh.
That's where my dad served as a police officer. So I just gravitated back there,
Mm.
and I worked in the casino. And I started out at the table games, and so blackjack, Let It Ride, not Texas Hold'em, but it was a version of that on the table games. And from there, I learned roulette. I became a croupier there, and baccarat, mini bac, every game except for craps. Because once you go to craps, you never come back to the table games.
Okay.
You work crew over there. But my goal was to get to the poker room because I wanted to sit down and talk to people. If you're at the blackjack table, and I learned how to count cards, and you would talk to people for just a little bit, or at the roulette table, which is the worst odds in the house. But once they lose their money, they gone. And and I wanted people to hang around because I wanted to hear their stories because
Right.
they hadn't given up on life like I did a few years earlier. I mean, I was so close to taking a dirt nap. But these guys and gals had traveled around the world. They'd been in the military and done all these things. So listening to those military stories, I was like, you know what? Let me go be
Mm.
around some other military guys. So on the way home back into St. Louis and Florissant, I would cross that boogie bridge and I would pass the St. Louis Veterans Home. And I said, let me just pop in here. So I dressed nice, walked in, and just started volunteering, started talking to people. And 3 or 4 days later, this lady grabs, I'm actually talking to a guy, and she grabs me by the ear. And I was like, I'm not in Catholic school. I'm not in school. And she grabs my ear. I was like, what the heck? And she's like, Tim Stroud, come right over here. And I was like, yes, ma'am. She's like, I'm Julie Goulet. I'll go, hello, Miss Goulet. And she's like, how did you get here? I said, I just parked outside and walked in. And she said, no, how did you get by everybody? She's like, you're supposed to come through me. I'm the director of volunteers and I have to do a background check on you. And you have to go through training. And she's like, you just walked in here and started volunteering. She's like, what's your secret? I said, no secret. I said, I've always been taught if you wanted to blend in, you don't question, you just go up and you go with the flow,
Yeah.
right? And you just act like you know what things are going on. So I would see guys in wheelchairs, and I was like, hey, you going into the dining room? I got you. Or you're taking a stroll around the track today? I got you. And 4 days later, and they were like, okay, no training for you. And I just became immersed in that culture. And these guys and gals taught me more about life in 6 months than I had learned in 12 years in school, and just loved it. I met the first Black pharmacist in the state of Missouri. Mr. Taylor was 102 years old,
Oh wow.
and he was a World War I veteran.
Oh,
And just to seeing
wow.
these walking history books and then take an interest with me. And they say, come here, I want to tell you a story. And it's like, if you want to talk, I want to listen. And just got into that culture. And those are the guys and gals that talked me into joining the military.
Wow. And that was at 27, 28?
I was 26 at that point,
Uh-huh.
and then on my 27th birthday, I took the entrance exam. And then 2 weeks later, man, I'm off to boot camp, Fort Lost in the Woods, Missouri. Where did you go to basic at?
Fort Jackson.
Fort Jackson?
Relaxing Jackson.
I think Jackson.
Is that a question or is
Yeah,
that an answer?
no.
Hey,
Yeah,
every
Fort
7
Jackson.
years, right? We got
Yeah,
everybody
yeah.
who's not exactly sure.
And where'd you go?
I went at Fort Benning.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah, South Carolina. Yeah. Fort
South
Jackson.
Kakalaki.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Golly, you put me on the spot. I had to think about that for
Yeah.
a minute. It's crazy, like when you say that, because like when people ask me, like, what company, what
Yep.
I did time in Fort Stewart, Carson, Bliss, Hood, and I get them all mixed
Yeah.
up.
And
It's,
for you, that was only within 10 years, 12, 13.
since I got out.
Well, I mean, how long were you in? You served.
Oh, that's 10 years.
That's what I mean. Like 4
Yeah.
duty stations in 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
You know,
always
plus a couple of deployments.
Yeah.
Or
You're-
deployment. You know,
Yeah.
it's like
you were
that's
always
a lot of
hopping and
moving.
popping.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I get it. I hate moving still to this day. I'll never
Man,
do
I
it,
box up all your you
Oh,
never
my
know how
goodness.
much stuff you have till you box it all up and then you gotta move.
This last time I moved, I said I'll never move again until I'm able to afford movers.
Uh-huh. There you go.
We're getting close.
That's right. Were
Yeah.
you on 3-Corps, 4th ID, first CAF?
Was in the first CAF side, but
Okay.
we were part of the BSB.
Okay.
Yeah, so we were over there at Fort Hood. Yeah.
And
yeah.
what years were you there?
Ooh, 2015 till no. 13 to 15.
Okay.
13. So I got out. I got medically retired out of Fort Hood in 15.
Okay. You saw some
Yeah.
changes out there. Some good changes though.
Yeah, well, we saw a lot. There's a difference. It was 12 to 15. God, I don't remember.
Well,
Yeah.
but at that
I need
point,
to write all this down one
You
day.
do. Otherwise, 'cause your family members are going to come to you at some point, but like, hey, when and where? And when my grandfather passed away, he was an Air Force veteran. He carried the nuclear football while they were in Korea.
Mm.
Oh,
Oh yeah, so he worked for the general, and when he passed away, I helped set up his 21 gun salute, and the American Legion came out and did all their stuff. And every one of my cousins, except for one, said, What are those guys doing here?
Oh, wow.
They had no idea he was in the Air Force.
Yeah.
Oh, serious?
That's right. You know what, guys back then, they didn't talk a lot about it. They got back. It's like when Bob Gephardt got back from Vietnam. It's like, change your clothes. We don't want to see you in uniform. Suck it up, Buttercup.
Mm.
And it's like, oh, you got shell shock or PTSD? Yeah, keep it, push it down.
Yeah, yeah.
And we don't want to hear about it. Go back to work.
Mhm.
And now, thankfully, we get to talk about it because everybody's heard the statistic: 22 veterans a day go to a dark place and they don't come back. It's usually the older veterans, and that's because they're not talking. They lost their tribe. When we were in, man, it doesn't matter if you were black, brown, red, green, like girls, guys, whatever. You got thrown into that melting pot and you embraced the suck, right?
Right.
That became your tribe. And when you got out, we scattered.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's the bad thing about it, is because now you don't have the battle buddy. You don't have the drill sergeant. You don't have the colonel or the command sergeant major. You kind of lose a little bit of your identity because you lost that tribe. And that's one of the things I love about Texas, is that we gather the tribes and we put them back together. And it doesn't matter if it's the Rotary Club of Greater Houston, Wounded Warrior Project, Camp Hope, Camp Shield, Combined Arms, Impact a Hero. Find out what makes you more of you.
Mm.
And when you do that, again, there's that curve it comes in. It's like on my bucket list was jumping out of planes, which I never got to do in the military, and also diving under the water. Well, I got to dive out of planes with the Golden Knights,
Cool.
which was awesome. Great
For real?
experience. Oh my goodness. If you're going to, it wasn't my first jump, but one of the ladies, it was her first jump. If you want to jump out of a perfectly good airplane, do it with somebody that's done it 10,000 times
I
already.
guess that's a safe bet.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Same with Jeff going underwater.
Right.
My stepfather was not known as a nice guy. And a couple times I thought that was going to be a very short walk for me. I did not think that I was going to make it into adulthood, quite honestly. And when Jeff was teaching me everything about breathing and relaxing, had my battle buddy, my dive buddy, Rob, with me, but we're on the pool. We're not even at the lake. And we get 12 to 15 feet underneath water. I suck in some air through my nose. Well, if you've ever went diving, you don't do that. You breathe them through your mouth, big guy. That's where the O2 comes from. And it's because I had a flashback of him throwing me into the Mississippi River and where I almost drowned. And I never dealt with it. And when I'm underneath water, I look at him and I'm like, okay, something's kind of wonky. I need to go up. And he's like, hold on, breathe. Let's go that way. No, I'm not gonna make it. My heart's racing. I know I could hear it pounding. I said, I'm in my head right now. I can't get out. So let's go up. So we went up. Him, Rob, and I inflated our vests, and we're just chilling back there. He's like, you good? I was like, I am now. He's like, you want to talk about it? I was like, damn straight I do. Let's talk about it.
Whoa.
So we started talking about it. I start crying. He's crying. Rob's crying. 3 grown-ass men with 35 to 40 years combined experience in the military. Then we had that moment. Are you good? Never had a moment since.
So that was the trigger.
The trigger was because the lack of oxygen, because I accidentally tried to breathe through my nose.
Yeah.
Again, I was a neophyte in the water. And so I just did not have, that's why you have a dive buddy. And so normally, no big deal, just breathe, oxygen, get back on your rhythm. But in that moment, that's where my head went, to where he was choking me when I was a kid. And I thought I was going to die. And so all of a sudden, I was 12 years old. And I could not breathe.
And you went diving recently, within the last couple of years, correct?
Oh, I went 2 weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
3 weeks ago.
But you went with through the WAVES program.
Absolutely. We
Yeah.
go down to.
So that's when that kind of came about. Was it?
Yeah, it was last year. Well,
when you were
I learned
certifying?
Yes, I learned
Okay.
it. Yes, exactly. During COVID is when I went. I was Rob and I were the first 2 in Texas to be certified. And what a great part of my journey. It's like, yep, that sucked. but it's my journey.
Right.
And I thank God that I had good people there along with me. It's like, you don't go diving, you don't go cycling or do any of that stuff without a buddy.
Yeah, Tim, I want to thank you for bringing that up, because that leads us right into, if you're out there and you're experiencing trauma or you're in crisis, make sure you dial 988 and press 1. That's the new veteran crisis that's the new crisis hotline. All right, the veteran crisis hotline is still the old number. I'm not gonna remember it off my head, but I know it's easier now. It's still 988 press 1. It's there on the bottom of your screen. Thank you for really bringing that up, because a lot of the trauma that we'll experience while we're in the military can be set off from past trauma. I was the same way, right? And troubled childhood, not too troubling, but there's still things that I have to deal with. And you're bringing a great point. Last 2 weeks ago, we had a sergeant major that was on here talking about the veteran softball team. So it's Lone Star Warrior Outpost. Yeah, I got it. And you're absolutely right. We need veterans to get within the community again, to reach out. And they found a group of folks that are dealing with their trauma together, by helping each other through a common bond, which is sports. It's softball, but it's also being around that community again. And you're describing it for us, what it's like to be involved in that community and rediscovering your own self. Really, I mean, you've said it. You've been everywhere. You've done a lot of great things. And if it wasn't for you being open to the opportunity to be with Jeff on a dive, that could have never been addressed, and you could be in a different situation.
Oh, absolutely. And if someone's out there and they were like, where do I start? Number one, where you are.
Yes.
I love that you've got the number. I was blessed to be part of a team through Dr. Catherine Kochula at the Round Rock Texas A&M station for their health science center. It's called TexVet,
right.
TEXVET.org. And you don't have to log in. You don't have to make an account. They don't keep your information, which is great. Some of the other ones do, and that's fine too. But you can log in any one of the 254 counties in Texas, find out the mental health services, the financial services, everything that you need to get connected, whether you need to go to Camp Hope or you need equine assisted therapy or canine assisted therapy, or just talk to somebody that will listen. It's like Easter Seals. When I started working with them, loved the people there. And that's why I really dug in to find the funding. And we found it on the local, the state, the federal level. Grants, earmarked money from DSHS and others, just good people that wanted to make sure that veterans, their family members, and care providers had those resources. And now I get to see the fruits of the labor of that one, because we connected the dots between the VFW, the American Legion, the Disabled American Veterans, and we're able to get veterans their benefits. Bob's sitting over here, and we met, oh my goodness, we actually met at one of the veteran events. And Bob's, it okay to disclose? I think he was at 30%, right? No, it was 0. Oh, it's right. It's 0. So his file was about that thick from Vietnam. He had filed while he was in the Navy, and he bathed in Agent Orange, and he was part of the Blue Water Group. And they basically, again, you'll figure it out or not. And so they just denied. And he got to a point, he went on through 50 years in the banking industry and was very successful in Rotary, but he never went back. And I said, we have to fix that, because we need more people like you. You're one of the leaders. We need to get your benefits that you earned. And now he's at 70 or 80%. And so now he's at the point where, he gets the money. It's not what he's in there for.
It's the care.
It's the care. And he's back in the culture, and he's leading others back in, because Bob's there. He has brought so many there, and he's passed out certificates, the 50th anniversary certificate for those who have gotten back from Vietnam. What a great honor to finally say, welcome home.
Yeah. I want to take a pause real quick as we pause for a cup of coffee. If you're looking for a good cup of coffee, you can check out Patriot Knife Coffee Company at www.patriotknifecoffee.co. Is it US?
.us.
Sorry. So it's patriotknifecoffee.us. He is our friend, Mr. Tree McLean, doing a lot for the community with a cup of coffee. I know you know him pretty well. We were just on his podcast.
That's
I just
right.
listened to it.
Got my own brand of coffee over there. Aren't you supposed to go Patriot Knife?
Yeah.
Do the knife hand?
Yeah. Check out Bailey's Brew. It's fantastic. And don't forget to use the promo code Charlie Mike and let them know we sent you. But you're hitting on a subject that I absolutely love, which is veterans that came before us. they paved the way for a lot of the things that we're able to do now. Last week we had Ryan on, and I want to say he retired, or he got out about 2005. And I'm like, this is the birth of where the big boom of the BSOs came about.
Yeah, WWP's 2003, 2004.
And a lot of the resources that are out there now weren't there. They didn't exist.
Right.
And it's very interesting to have you on to hear you talk about that, kind of paving the way, because we all think that the military moves slow, the outside world moves a whole lot slower. They do not want change. We are accustomed to change. We're used to fragos, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hip by the pocket of the hip. Hey, we're gonna have to change this operations order. We're used to that in the military. We can adapt to change. The civilian world doesn't adapt as well. So if you are a veteran, please, we need you guys to get involved in some way. Mr. Tim here has went through so many different options that you've been a part of, and it's so much fun. It really is. I've never had a conversation or an opportunity to sit with you and conversate like this. We've seen each other around the small circle that we have, and I really, really appreciate you sharing that, because folks like Mr. Bob and that served in Vietnam and World War II, it's the guys that came before us that really paved the way. My daughter asked me about Pearl Harbor the other day, and I was like, I can imagine myself what that was like for a year. I can't tell my kids what that's like, or I can explain to them, but I can imagine what these men and women went through.
Right.
And so I think that's why we're drawn to them, right?
Oh, yeah.
You're looking for that guidance. You're looking for that mentor.
Oh,
hey,
my goodness. Yeah.
You know what? Like, you're the one that paved the way for me. I should be thanking you, and you're the one thanking me for my service. And I'm like, hey, man, I didn't do anything. And they're like, no way. You served. Like the Sergeant Major a couple of weeks ago, you served. You're a veteran. Be proud of that. And I'm
Amen.
Like, oh, my goodness.
That's one of the things that when we were doing a study with SAMHSA and then different mental health organizations and working with the police departments, when you would pull over somebody of our age and be like, hey, I'm looking to identify, are you a veteran? It's like, no, Bob and Bill Palco, those are the veterans. It's like, no. So we train the way they speak now. It's like, did you serve in the military? Then you can go north to south. And you're like, oh, yeah, I got that one. And so I know we're getting short on time.
No, keep
going.
Yeah.
One of the things that I want to make sure that that people are getting the energy that we're talking about right now. And they're like, heck yeah, let's go do something now. You've got some other groups that have formed platoons, like the Mission Continues. Mm-hmm. They have the different platoons in the greater Houston area, and they still do service projects. Get out and get involved. You've got Team RWB, Team Red, White, and Blue. They go out and do running. Through Rotary, we actually have Operation Turkey, where we'll feed 8,600 people on Thanksgiving and deliver the meals.
And you're a big part of that.
Again, I'm one guy, so I appreciate it. But I mean,
we had Hector on, and I know Hector's a big part of that.
Yeah.
He's a big. He loves you, man.
Man, I love him back. So, and that's the thing about it. I'll always have his back. And people are like, did you know he did that? He's like, I don't care. What did you know he did? I don't care. Yeah. It's like I don't focus on things. It's like, do you know why the majority of skiers hit the trees when they're coming down off the slopes?
I do, but I want to hear you say it.
That's because they're focusing on the tree. You will hit what you focus on. Focus on the good in people. And that's Dr. Ken Blanchard talks about walk the halls leadership. Walk the halls, find somebody doing something right. And that's what they'll remember. That's what you'll remember. But if you're walking down the halls like, Raul, move all the stuff over here. That's not on the DSHS list. Make sure you get the chemical listed. And you're like, but if he complimented you, he's like, man, since you've been working here, this is the cleanest facility I've ever seen. Not saying you're the cleaning guy, but I was saying, it's like, why you got to do that to me, Tim? Because I'm looking at the cleaning equipment right over here. But it's that thing. And so focus, same thing with yourselves. Find something that's great that you were great at. You don't have to play the trumpet, a guitar, or the piano anymore. Find something that you're great at. It could be giving compliments, writing letters. I still talk to 5 veterans a day. Even though I was on vacation, I text, I email, I did the WhatsApp. I want to make sure that there's somebody that's out there. I don't know if that's what they needed to lift up. I don't know if they need it. I need it. So the adage of, if you're having a bad week, you need the church. If you're having a good week, church needs you. And so I look at that mentality. Man, I never know when I'm going to need some church. I mean, we could always use some Jesus, right?
Yeah.
But when I look at these groups, I look at what can I learn? What can I soak up today and go out, and I look at the Wounded Warrior Project. Again, they've had their peaks and valleys.
Right.
Recently, I dove back into that group just to see what they had online. While a lot of organizations, they just kind of thinned out over COVID, they dug in and they made sure they did more of the online programs. I'm like, yes.
I swear by
Yeah.
them, man.
Yeah, good
Yeah,
group, man.
I swear by everything they do, and when when people are like, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "Man, no."
Yeah.
They may have had a past, but those same people ain't in there no more.
Mm.
What they're doing now is amazing. I've had the chance to work with them a lot, and shit, even through COVID,
Yeah.
they did some amazing things for veterans.
Right. They're the 800-pound gorilla. And there's some great ones around here at Impact a Hero.
Mm.
You've got the Coalition to Salute America's Heroes, Jay Coppett with Serve, and the list goes on and on.
Marcelo, American GI Form.
There we go.
love it.
Actually, he's over at in Austin
now.
right now.
Yeah, he just brought you up right here.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
Hey
good to hear
Marcelo,
from-
if you're on, I'll be in Austin tomorrow.
Hey, yeah, there we go. Get that office open over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one of the things I hear you saying is try a little bit of everything. You have to experience it. And I'm not just talking about life in general. You should try a little bit of everything, but I'm talking about these VSOs, right? I mean, there's so many organizations just in Houston alone that do so many things that cover a lot of places. Okay, maybe this certain organization wasn't for you. That's fine. Go away for a while, try a different one, and then come back, because I've heard the same thing. I've had good experiences and bad experiences with all the organizations, but at the end of the day, I'm still going to, I know they're helping somebody.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You're so close. You're right there. You're on the precipice of it. Try to pick up that water bottle for me. What'd you do?
I just did it.
But what I asked you to do,
Right.
I said try.
Right.
I don't want you to try. So anybody listening today, I don't want you to try. I want you to do something.
There you go.
I don't care if you take one step today. He said 10 minutes. Do 10 minutes of cardio, 10 minutes of push-ups, 10 minutes of stretching, 10 minutes of reading. Do something today that makes you a better version of who you are.
Yeah.
Man.
That's it, man. Just start there.
And I love that you brought up I'm going to do a self-plug, but I know that you brought up hey, I do this for me. I like to text 5 people for me.
Mhm.
And folks, if you're out there and you follow me, thank you. I've actually gotten a lot of feedback lately about it, but I make morning videos every single morning, and most of the time they're for me.
That's awesome.
What's
your favorite one so far?
So far, I don't know. I have so many.
Okay.
I have way too many to pick a favorite. But I absolutely love what you talked about when you say focus. What you're focusing on is what you're going to hit.
Mhm.
I'm a big proponent of getting active, and I know that for me, leadership development is self-development.
Mhm.
If I want to really be a better person, be a better speaker, then I have to work on myself. That's where all of those secrets are. That's where all the self-help is. That's where all the people really are getting rich are. The best investment you can make is in yourself.
Amen.
Really. And I absolutely love you hearing that, because it's echoing, it's like similar paths. And it's reassuring to me that I'm on to something, like, hey, you can do it. I see you doing great things. I really admire you. Even more now that you've shared this. I have admired you from a distance. I've never been able to tell you that.
Are you sure it wasn't just the light coming off my head? You're like,
That's why we don't have the lights on.
all for the
Yeah.
shine. Yeah, I see. I can put the powder on. Absolutely. And there's speaking of powder and lights, there are some other amazing groups. And I know we're getting ready to close here soon.
No.
I
got
was
more questions for you.
okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
One of the groups I was belonging to in Austin, I forgot the name of the group, but now there's arts in the armed services, and I'm trying to get them to come to Texas and to Houston proper, so we can do more for veterans that want to get into acting and public speaking and to playing music.
I think I know who you're talking about, because I actually reached out to them, and they have a course in storytelling.
Yes,
And I love
and
storytelling.
I reached out, and he's a Marine, but I busted his chops so many times. I've phone calls, emails, letters, and fancy cards to him. Nothing yet. Gosh darn it, the guy's Rock Tour for Recovery. What's the name? Is it Paul? Oh, he just plays guitar. Shame on me. Anyway, he plays guitar, and he's gotten into acting, and I love that one because that's what I did in Austin. I took as many veterans as I could down to the set for Friday Night Lights. They needed extras, which was awesome. One of the guys, he got hit in the head and huge concussion and TBI, and every 30 seconds his memory kicks in again. He has his long-term memory, no short-term memory. The guy was just massive because he would go to the gym. He forgot he would go to the gym, and he'd work out again and again. He's working out 3 times a day. I kid you not. And this guy was huge. Could not remember lines.
Delacard?
Oh yeah, Paul De La Cerda.
Is that how you
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and I'll put a little bow on this one. So I love what Paul does. I actually knew Paul in the military, and I didn't remember him till we got here because he played guitar and he was in a band while we were in the Army there over at Fort Hood. And I would take all these guys and gals down to the TV set or the football field, and we'd film Friday Night Lights. I got to play sheriff, and I actually kept the
movie?
The TV show.
The
TV show.
Really?
Yeah, it was awesome. So I played the sheriff.
I enjoy it. I actually rewatch that show every couple of years.
Well,
man.
squint really hard and go frame by frame. You'll see me in there, and had such a blast. We started doing that over here in Houston and sending. There's a lot of stuff that's shot over here in Texas and more over in Georgia around the Atlanta area. And Paul cracked the nut on that one, which was great. And he was on Jungle Cruise with The Rock, and he lined me up, and I was in the set to be on Red Notice with Ryan Reynolds, The Rock, and Gal Gadot, and then also Black Adam. But because I ran for Congress, I couldn't go. And I was telling Bob, I was like, man, we're going to go and get this one. And I was like, I'm a little heartbroken. He's like, why? I said, read this notice. And I was like, I had to turn down the acting, and I wasn't doing it for the money or the fame. It's just I wanted to be part of that experience and take others, because it only takes one person to do it. It's kind of like the 4-minute mile. And who broke that?
Who broke?
Yeah, put you on it.
He doesn't remember. I don't remember either.
Roger Bannister.
Okay.
And so up until that point, everybody's running 401s, 402s, 403s, which is wicked fast. I mean, you're wing-footed Mercury at this point. But they told Bannister he couldn't do it. They got in his head. They're all psychosomatic. And he turned the tables on him. He's like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And he did. It was like 4:59, 49, something like that. And he did it. And within a short period of time, you had 12 to 16 more guys that did it, because it only takes one to pave that path. I want to pave some paths and put some people on there to see where they're going to go and see what they're going to do, and just watch it go from there.
Man, you're doing your part. That's for damn sure.
I think you did it. You're hitting the nail on its head. It just takes that one person, because that's a true story. They said physically, no one can break a 4-minute mile. It's physically impossible to do that, and nobody could do it. Then all of a sudden, when he does it, now everybody believes that I can do it. And you're going to be challenged, Charlie and Mike Nation. You're going to be challenged out there that nobody can do it, and somebody's going to believe in you. And honestly, it only takes you to believe in you. Yeah.
You said you had a couple other questions?
Yeah, well, Hector said, what's up?
Oh. Is he over at the American Legion, or is he at the football game tonight?
Ooh, there's no... Oh, I don't even.
I think, Bob, that's why we had so much traffic tonight.
Yes,
it's a football game.
Right. It's a home game.
It's preseason. Come on.
But they were giving tickets away on VetTix.
Oh,
yeah, the Astros are playing too.
Love
that
makes
a lot of sense.
Another great organization.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, 2 hours to get over here from Cypress. I used to live 5 minutes away from there, right up Makawa.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I used to see you everywhere here in Pearland.
So you said you had a couple of things I wanted.
I wanted to ask you, man. Okay, so we talked a little bit. You talked a little bit about your run for Congress. What brought that on? I mean, because I know you're in every military organization. I saw Tim every military event. You saw Tim and you saw
Colton.
No, what? Yeah, Colton too. Yeah, what's the? I forgot his name.
Mike Nash. Or are you talking about Bob Gephardt? Or are you talking about?
Do we have him on already?
No.
Okay, then
Marine guy. He's got. Nah, never mind. Well, I don't want to. He said he's at home tonight. He's relaxing a little bit.
Okay,
that's what Hector said. Yeah.
So you were asking why he went.
So you're.
Oh, why did I run?
Yeah. Well, that was was that something that you thought about? You dreamt of, or just one day was like, oh shit, let
Well,
me
it
do
was
this?
partially it was based out of need and necessity for me. Was that I love the path that I chose with Easter Seals, and it was a skeleton crew when we started over there.
Mhm.
It's one of the few organizations I would absolutely go back to if I could bring additional value there. But I trained up 3 other people and made sure it was funded properly for the next 2 years, so I could watch their journey again going on that one. But watching as I was training up those to see for my next version of me was that I was so sick and tired of our elected officials on the local, state, and federal levels of talking to people on this side of their head and then turn around and talking over here. And I don't like people that are two faced. I don't like people that go to get famous or rich on the backs of others. And we're heading more than 5 degrees off our path. And I was like, it's time to get back on path. And it wasn't saying, oh, the Republicans are right and the Democrats are horrible. Nope, nope. In the history of the United States, it's never been that way. But in the history of the United States, we've never been more divisive. And I'm going all the way back to my favorite president with Lincoln at number 16, is that I think we rival that time right now, is that how split we are as a nation. And we need to come together. And one of my goals, and Bob will tell you, Bob was so magnanimous that he was my treasurer for a year. And here I'm talking about driving 2 hours down here. He did it because District 7 was half in Harris County and half in Fort Bend County. And we wanted to make sure that we called people, we called them on the carpet and we held their feet to the fire. Well, the Democrats, they didn't like that, but they were used to it. The Republicans did not like it. And when I talked to any 5 of the sitting congressmen in the greater Houston area, when I saw something great, I would champion them. When they and you know what? Here's the thing about it: the Democrats as well. So Green and used to be my congressman. When he would do stuff right, and he would go down to the VA, and with no cameras, I would champion him. I would make sure that my circle knew that he was doing good stuff. But when they were posturing and they were doing other things, and I saw, you know, I really don't want to say all the names that are out there. I mentioned him because he actually did some stuff, but there's some others. They've done horrible things, and so, but I called the Republicans on the carpet as well. They really didn't like it,
Yep.
and I said, I still like you, and they were like, why are you doing this to me? And I was like, I did not put it out for public consumption. This is me and you as veteran or as peers or colleagues. Here's where I think we should be, and you chose this path over here. Tell me why. That's all I want to know. My favorite question when I was 5, my favorite question now that I'm 50. Why did you make that choice over there? Don't make me pull the curtain back on the Wizard of Oz and see what's back there. You tell me why this decision, why you did this, because I want to see you do the most good for the most people.
Mm.
And so my journey, instead of picking a state office, was picking a national office. And I looked at that. I was like, it's going to take a lot of money. I will make a few friends. I will make a lot of enemies because I'd also get endorsements. I would get half their friends and 100% of all their enemies.
Yeah.
And so you never please all of the people. I was not getting in that to be a people pleaser. And I just wanted people to get towards the middle. We're at a point now, we still have 5% on this side and 5% on this side. And they're raising such holy hell. They're getting the majority of the press. And meanwhile, everybody over here is trying to make sense of what we're doing
Mhm.
and move our nation forward. And I look at the decisions that are being made politically and socially, and I'm scratching my bald head. I was like, how in the world did we get here? But as a society, what one generation will prohibit, the next one will permit, and the next one will promote. So we have to watch out where we're going. Otherwise, we're going to get to that point here. We're going to look at how did we get down this chain, and to get back that way. It's I look at analogies. I love water. I grew up near the water. And so on this one, if you look at our country as a boat and how we need to steer this ship, it is not like turning around a speedboat. We are turning around a tanker, and it's going to take time to turn it around. And if we do not start doing it now, it may be too late. That's a long answer, but that's why.
That was incredible. You got something?
No. I think
No. So okay. So man, damn. No, I mean,
Yeah.
And I do want to thank you guys. You guys have always been so supportive of what I've done. And I was not, when I ran, I did not expect all my friends just be like, woo, vote for Timmy,
Yeah.
let's go.
Yeah.
No, wasn't looking for that. I wanted to hear what they had to say. I went to Republican events. I went to Democrat events. I went to Tea Party events. I went to, Bob will tell you, we lottie dottie everybody. I went and spoke with them, and I listened, and I looked at the things there, and I just asked questions. Man, I went down to Montrose, and I listened to what they wanted to do, and believe it or not, their values are very close to ours. The
Mhm.
Bible thumpers be like, no, that's not true. Believe it or not, you start talking to people in the community, they want the same thing as you. They want a healthy community. They want good financial stability, and they want things for their kids and their partners, and they want to see people get along. They do not want that radicalism.
Yeah.
What's a key lesson you learned while running for politics that maybe you didn't know beforehand?
And you know what? Running as a Republican, one of the things that I learned is that no one can eat a Republican like another Republican.
I could see that.
I
Yeah.
watched some of the brightest and best minds looking at that one. And what I wanted to do is just to have an amalgam of all these ideas and then move forward with the energy. So if you've got 7 people that are running for an office, only one's going to move forward. Great. When that one's not there, let's have a plan to take those 6, bolster behind, and reach a different part of the community and move forward. Instead, no, we're still in silos. It took us a long time as veteran service organizations to break those silos down. And I was hoping to do the same thing in the political field. It's not over yet. I have a very supportive girlfriend, but we put the car in neutral on that one. She's the breadwinner in the family, and I'm thankful that I have her support.
But it's not over yet.
Nah, you know what? I'm never gonna say it's over. I mean, my favorite president, number 16, he failed forward, right?
Yeah, but okay. So with after the elections, I mean the numbers were pretty like
They were healthy. For my first run, it was.
I was trying to think of the right way to say it, but they were healthy. They really were.
I did not have novice numbers for my first race, and I was honored to run and get the nod from so many prominent people.
With that much support that you did have, you have to think that
Well, part of the mission was accomplished. The goal is to get people talking again and having them move forward, and not just to say. I never wanted to run on a platform of saying, he's wrong, I'm right, vote for me. No, we're here to be professional problem solvers. It doesn't matter if you're elected as a dog catcher or the president of the United States. You're there to solve problems and bring solutions. I want to make sure that people are talking, because over in my foxhole, I'm going to see something totally different from you. But I need to have that positive two-way communication. It's like, all right, what do you see over there in your foxhole roll? And you're like, hey, Tim, I'm not seeing what you see. Okay, great. Let's talk about it.
Right. And
Right.
I like that open communication, man. You got to do your research on everything,
Right.
And that's what you did. You
Yeah.
researched every political party, and I think it's like leaders throughout the military. You take the good from the leaders that you want to be like, and then the bad.
Right.
You throw that out the.
Let's dive in there real quickly. You look at the Honor Our Pact Act that just came through, and that it wasn't just for the burn pits. The wording in there was for toxic exposure, so it goes all the way back to Vietnam era. And that the great thing about that one, and it encompasses a lot. So if somebody was over in Kuwait, Iraq, Afghanistan, and they were around the small pits or the large pits that were over there, and they're having health issues from something that happened over there, the VA is set up for it. The VHA and the VBA, which is great. It's 2 of the 3 legs at the Veterans Administration. They're ready for it. I'm on the head shed call each month over there, and they're doing amazing things. They were ready. Guess who got in the way? Politicians.
Yeah.
And a Democratic politician is the one who actually authored this bill from California. Shocker, I know. But there were some Republicans that stymie the process. Now, again, I understand there's politics, there's things that are going on behind the scenes. We elect them for a reason. I want you to tell me, get ahead of the power curve. Tell me why it's not going to pass. Or they're trying to put pork on it. They're trying to add all these additions and it's going to be millions or billions of dollars. Just let us know. That way we're ahead of it and we can do something. But when it gets stymied or it gets stopped and we don't know why, man, then you've got all the legacy groups that worked on them. So the American Legion, Disabled American Veterans, the VFW, the Vietnam Veterans of America, the Wounded Warrior Project worked on it as well, and so many other great organizations. And I was part of it for a little bit over 7 years. These guys worked on it for almost 10 years.
Wow.
Luckily, we had people like John Stewart that stepped up as well. Took a lot of criticism for it, but he made sure that we got these benefits. And it took about 10 years to get it done. 40 years for Bob's generation to get those benefits that they needed. Let's shorten that curve, and that's one of the goals. Is again have those conversations. Find out when we send our men and women into combat in harm's way, we need to make sure that we're taking care of them, their families, and their care providers.
Let me ask you. So with the Houston VA, I swear I talk nothing good about the Houston VA because I've never had an issue there, but other people have in the veteran, I mean, in the VA in general, and
Right.
whole, not just Houston. What is something that you see that you wish that was different there?
We've got a good skipper at the helm right now. By the way, it's Frank Vasquez, and he lives over here in Pearland. And you've got 5,600 employees at under his helm. And man, it's a tough one. What would I do better? What would I change?
Yeah. Well, see, I have no complaints.
Oh, I do.
Because I love this. I love it.
It does.
Personally,
Right.
I love it, and I talk nothing but good things.
I do as well.
about
And
the VA here in Houston.
I want better access.
Better access.
to, because once you get into the PAs, the surgeons, the licensed clinical social workers there, we really do have world-class care. I mean, they do everything from clip your toenails to doing organ transplants
Right.
at our VA. It's the access. I can tell you right now that there are 3 veterans in our small circle that needed chiropractic care. I'm one of them. And it should not take 6 months to go see a back quack. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, if you're used to getting that adjustment and you need that for your ongoing care or preventative maintenance on your body, right? PMCS your body,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And every Monday in the motor pool, you need to do that on your body. And that's going to save so much money, time, and effort and heartache in the future if we can do that one. And they're listening. Again, they're turning around that oil tanker, and it's tough. But there's systems in there that absolutely could be done better. That's number one that would help with. The other one, have somebody at the VA or the different CBOCs, the community-based outreach centers, that know what's going on in the VSO world. Just because I'm going to the VA for mental health or my physical health doesn't mean that's where I'm going to hang out with my boys and have a cup of Joe.
Yeah.
If I want to go throw some horseshoes or go dive, I'm going to go do it with a different group. Have somebody there that knows the groups. Put them at the volunteers. But this person needs to be paid, and paid well, because they need to know what's going on in the community.
Right.
So when a veteran comes down and they're wearing a Vietnam veteran hat, hey, I noticed you wore that hat. I don't know if you're aware of the Vietnam Veterans of America that are over in Pasadena, or this group over here. I've got a couple connections, and they're doing a program. They'd love to have a guy like you. You were in the Navy, right? Yeah, I sure was. Be that connector to help people find their tribe. They will flock to the VA to come hang out. One of the worst things they did is take out the tables and chairs by the Starbucks. When you go into the VA, on the right-hand side at the main entrance, you'll see a guy there. His name is Huey Jacobs. He's a shoe shine guy. Love Huey. In fact, he shined my boots that I got on right now. I could shine my boots with the best of them. But guess what? That's his job.
Yeah.
That's his vocation. I pay for his story. When my girlfriend and I were over in Italy, and my daughter's like, "You're going to haggle and get this?" I was like, "Hold on, sweetie." And she's like, "No, Dad, but I know this." "I know you do, sweetie. Hold on." And she's like, "What are you doing?" I go, "Sweetie, I'm buying his story." It's like, what do you mean? I go, I can get this leather wallet any of the stores that are around this area. I want to hear his story and what makes him unique. And that's what we did. We want to make sure we do that one. When you stop doing that, that's when you break down your community. But we have so many good people that are still willing to give and do great things, but we've got to include them. And if we don't, we'll be like other states. Houston is a mecca, and Texas is an oasis. We are so great for veterans. That's why they flock here.
Oh yeah. I tell everybody, hey,
Gotcha.
Texas, where's that?
Gotcha. Yeah, I got you. So now it's time for me to ask you a question. So what's your second curve? So you've had some things going on in your life, family changes, but also some personal changes on your healthy journey. What's your next curve look like?
Oh, you know what? I want to. Well, as far as we want to continue growing this, the podcast. I want to continue to grow the apparel side, and just continue to give back where we can. But I want to continue the mission. We have to. We want to try to make an impact in as many lives as we can, and it's people like you coming on here. We want to. Thank you for your service. Coming on here and sharing your stories it's there. It helps me. It helps me. It's therapeutic.
Yep.
Therapeutic.
Absolutely.
Therapeutic for myself, and I know if it's therapeutic for me, it's therapeutic for someone else. So being able to continue to share the message and the stories and the struggles of everyone, I think it is what's curving me around. If it wasn't for this podcast, I probably wouldn't be out of the house right now. If it wasn't for,
I just got goosebumps.
In this truth, if it wasn't for individuals like Ricky, if it wasn't for individuals like William that literally went to my house and like get the it's time to do something. I wouldn't be here right now.
Well, I'm glad you are, and I'm glad you guys are having me.
I
on
mean,
the show.
physically,
So who's your favorite podcaster right now?
Oh, man,
top three. Who you got?
I got so many.
Give me your top three.
Okay, this is funny. It's a comedian. His name is Theo Vaughn.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I got you. Awesome. Who else
podcast. You got? I'm a big fan of Mike Tyson.
Okay, man, he is coming. Second curve.
Yeah,
man, he's found his curve.
Mike Tyson has an awesome podcast, and I'm a big Joe Rogan fan.
I was gonna say number three, awesome. So here's the goal. I want you to write those down, and I want you to write each one of those guys, and I want you to get on their podcast. I want you to have them see if they'll mentor you once a month for the next year. Mentor you guys, and then have them on your show, and you get to be on their show. Yeah, just ask Joe. Would be amazing. Just tell him your story. Tell him what you just told everybody right now. Saying, Joe, I want to be a guest on your show for 5 minutes, and I want you to mentor me for 15 minutes once a month. That's it. I want 15 minutes of your time. That's it. What's the worst he's gonna say?
It was nothing. I actually even thought about. Okay. So Theo Vaughn, he's the comedian.
Yes.
But he's actually, I don't know if a lot of people know that he's in sobriety.
Okay.
So he goes to NA, and AA. Now I do another podcast with Ricky Cruz, and it's on addiction and recovery.
Right, because how long is he been on his journey?
Ricky?
Yeah,
I think he's hitting 12 years.
Yeah,
I want to say 11, 12 years.
Yeah.
If I'm not, So, and he was the initial push for me to get like one of the kicks in the butt that I needed for me to realize, okay, you can overcome your addiction,
right,
and still be successful. And seeing him along his way and sharing with him always being so open about his addiction and his struggles, but at the same time his successes. It helped me realize, okay, well, this shit is possible. You know what I mean? So that's I get a lot from him, and William has been, we haven't been friends that long, but people think that we've known each other for freaking years and years because of the way we
the banter and how that connection is.
We bond. And like I tell a lot of people, they think it's funny because we found out more about each other live on the air than we have about our military careers.
Okay.
Because when we're talking offline, it's not we don't talk about our military backgrounds and things like that. We talk about life and family and things, things that I mean, that are us. You know, we have, well, he cooks the best damn crawfish. By the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I put it out there.
All right.
Yeah.
Hector, you heard that, right?
Oh, I could beat Hector.
Oh, the gauntlet has been
Yeah.
thrown. Okay, so you've got your goal though. Reach out to those 3 guys,
Yeah.
and any of them would be awesome. And find the low hanging fruit. It could be Rogan because he's an awesome. Although that's a hard
he's
he's a tough one.
Yeah.
But I do have a guy in radio over there. I will reach out to him. His name's Bama Brown. He is with KVET now. He launched Case. Now he's with KVET. Amazing guy. Loves to support the military. Let me see if he knows Joe.
Man, I tell you what, anybody that you know in general that you think would be awesome guest on this podcast, man,
Okay.
just to come on and share their story, to share what they're doing now. It's just the struggles, even if they didn't have struggles, you know, because we like to talk about when you get out of the service, you know, a lot of us don't know which way we're going.
Right.
Because
I think that's a great point for Charlie Mike. You know, I that's one thing I try to resonate with this podcast is we're all finding our curve, right? What is your next mission? And that's how we put it. You know, I love the way you put it, but finding the curve, finding what you're going to do next. And for us, the transition is the most difficult part. If you can get through those first couple of years, sometimes you got to put your head down and just get through it. But when you start to look up and you can see the horizon, it's like, okay, well, I got no challenge for you. Like your challenger in a role. What is your next mission? What is it? You know, can we name it? Can we set a goal for you? And I can guarantee you're setting your goals too low.
Yeah, most people, you're exactly right.
I mean, oh my gosh, it's amazing what the human spirit can accomplish. And I can see it with you, Tim. It's
hey, Hector says challenge accepted.
yes. I can see with you. I can see with all the guests that we bring on. I absolutely have had a great time here. I have one final question for you, and then I'd like you to wrap it up. So let's. My favorite thing is, what has been your most influential book? What is the one book that you reread every year? Because I know you said you're a reader every week, but I know for me, I've learned the most when I actually pick up the book and reread it again. The first time is fantastic, but the second, the third, the fourth time, what's a book that you continue to go to?
I've got so many by Paul J. Meyer. He was my mentor, and he wrote, I think, 13 different books with Dr. Ken Blanchard, No Can Do, and I read those all the time. I mean, in fact, I went through it and I picked up, I just told Bob at dinner, I have 2 more huge cases of books I'm going to bring into to Rotary on our next meeting and give those away. Some are autographed, some are not, some are first editions and others. But the one book I keep going back to is a finance book, The Richest Man in Babylon.
Yeah.
And I know you know it well,
Carlson,
by George Clayson. George C. Clayson. And love that book, even though there's another one. I listen to some in the vehicle as well when I get stuck in traffic. Another one's by Susan Scott, Fierce Conversations. And it's a dovetail in what you were just talking about of finding out between each other or who you're talking with on what's going on. Because if I told you right now, hey, you just bought some land, used your VLB benefits, and you have a great property, but you have to dig down 100, you need to dig 100 feet to get to the well. Well, if you hire somebody and say, hey, look, I need you to dig 100 feet. In your head, you're like, okay, great. They're going to dig right there. They're going to power down 100 feet. What if you came back and they they dug 100. Sorry, it's a New Madrid, Missouri coming out at me right there, buddy. What if they dug 100 1-foot holes? They dug 100 feet, right?
Okay, yeah.
So those are like our conversations. Most of the conversations we have on a daily basis are going down 1 foot. Imagine you took the time and you drilled down 100 feet. What are you going to do? You're going to find that spring. So that's another thing I try to do is I have my challenge to myself is to have more conversations where I get to find out where I get to hit that spring for them and what bubbles up.
You're damn good at it, man.
Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah,
you guys are awesome.
It's staying curious, asking questions. Really,
Absolutely.
It's funny because I saw you do it to Tree. You know, on the podcast, I'm sitting there listening, and you ask a question, and then Tree goes on, and you're like, and now I can see. Yeah, he was digging that well.
That's right.
He was digging that well. You know, here Tim is to be the guest, and he's the interviewee.
Oh man, and you guys
I
make
can't
it
help
so
it,
simple to talk. Oh, it's having a conversation, and
That's
so
what it is, man. It's what we want guests to come on here and feel at home and feel welcome and just have a conversation. We don't want it to be like everything's professional. We just want guys shooting the shit, talking.
sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
from the heart, from your gut, from your experiences.
And Tree said he's probably reading his autographed Playboys.
Another influence from my Uncle
Yeah.
Tony. The one of the things that Bob and I will do, we'll go through our list of speakers through Rotary. There are 64 Rotary clubs in the greater Houston area. And our governors, in fact, the last governor was a woman, and the current one's a woman, the next one's a woman. And that's great. That shows how much an organization can change. Because 100 years ago, when Rotary was started in Chicago, it was a white guys club, and it was for networking. And now they have done a paradigm shift. And we have some of the most dynamic speakers. We have astronauts, we have colonels. We've had 2 astronauts on. One was on last week, and then we had Guy Glover, who was on the space station international, and just wonderful stories. What we'll do is we'll start sending you guys that information.
Thank you.
And I come down to Rotary. If you guys don't want to join, just come down and be a guest.
Say,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
say when.
I went. Actually, I did. Remember,
Yeah.
we saw Mr. Bill Brown.
Bill Brown, the voice of the
Yes,
Astros.
the voice of the Astros. That
Yeah.
was so cool, and it very.
Yeah.
I'm extremely humbled for a growing friendship. Some of your mentorship. I've seen you, Bob, out there and doing great things too, and for our blossoming friendship. What do you have to say to the veterans as we wrap this up?
Well, number one is thank you for your service and never quit. And that's like Bob and I's friendship. When we met, we were digging down one foot, and he went after me for 6 months trying to help me have him be the co-founder of the Greater Houston Rotary Club. Because first I was like, nope,
6
hell
months.
no, leave me alone. He's laughing. Oh yeah, 6 months. And he wouldn't stop. And Diane's like, he's like that. And he would not stop. And finally I said, all right, let's do the damn thing. And we've grown something quite amazing. In fact, we have the large, is it Rotaract or Interact? Rotaract, we have one of the largest Rotaract groups, and that's the high school group. And it's very healthy. And so we're catching those young minds in high school and showing them service above self. And that's to the veterans. You've already served your country. Make sure that you're serving your communities and serving yourself. And that means staying active, showing somebody what's going on. Don't have to know it all. I know this much about this much.
Yeah.
And so I love sharing, and I love listening and learning. And come down to Rotary, connect with us, or come down here, give these guys a call, send them a question, share their podcast.
How do people find the Rotary?
Rotary, just Google a Greater Houston Veterans Rotary Club.
Okay.
And
yeah, I know there's a Facebook site that's actually pretty active too.
Yes,
I know you guys
absolutely.
stay pretty active on Facebook.
We do. And my next chapter is coming up. I am writing a book, and I'll tease you with that one. But my next chapter will be coming up next month, and I'll let you guys know which organization I'll be joining.
Awesome. And how can someone keep in contact with you, or how can we follow your journey? On socials, or you said you have the Stroud.
The easiest one is Stroud. It does the Facebook or the Instagram, and both of them are Stroud Marketing.
Cool.
So that's what's next for Tim.
It's part of the journey, yes. And we're looking at. I say we because I love my girlfriend, and she's absolutely amazing. We look at different things together. I mean, between us, we've got 5 rental properties, and we look at some other stuff that's going on. We're looking at adding assets and things of what we can do to give back. We want a legacy where we're giving back.
That's amazing, man. Hey, it's been an honor to have you here today.
Oh, back at you, man. This is fun. We'll do it again.
Definitely.
And I'll bring some friends. I'm gonna Mecca back up to the Cypress area, and God willing, and the creek don't rise, it's not going to take me 2 hours to get up there.
Yeah. Charlie Mike Nation, man, you have it there from Mr. Tim Stroud himself. Get involved, never quit. Thank you for your service. If you are in distress, please call 988-PRESS-1. Reach out to one of us. Reach out to a battle buddy. Reach out to others. That's the best way to do it. Others over self. I absolutely love that. It's fantastic, Tim. This has been a absolute pleasure. This has been really fast too.
Yeah, as always, if you you missed this episode, we'll have it available on all podcast platforms as of tomorrow morning. So be sure to like, share, subscribe. If you liked it, again, even if you didn't like it, just do it anyway. We appreciate it. Yeah. So with that, guys, as always, Charlie, Mike,